Live tonight on American Zombie. What's up? Like to say, oh, my brother, Amaze. Good to see you, man. Happy Friday, MD. Looking forward to another engaging stream tonight. Yes, my brother. We got the link always pinned to the top of the chat. Until once I get the book published, I'll probably go into more of the manuscript. But yeah, man, if anybody wants to hop on, hang out, uh, I'll be talking about rabbit hole discussions. I had a couple of other ones that I had titled that as well. I didn't put one, two, or three, but basically to go into stuff that we talk about before, surreal, something that extremely gets deep into what is happening, like, and not the surface level stuff. That's why the depth, going deep into the rabbit hole, the analogy was used, because you're going deep, representing depth. Or the other one from Alice in Wonderland was through the looking glass. Now, through the looking glass, you start to say, oh, so now again, you're going through something, you're going through an experience, just like the depth of the rabbit hole. So we're going deep beyond the surface level stuff that you see. Now, in the YouTube sphere, it's beating out television, Netflix. YouTube is basically the new TV. And not to say that it's the only one, but it is the best that's out there, to where everybody knows you have to at least do something on YouTube. And then other ones come second, Instagram and stuff like that. And also TikTok, people talk about that one. But YouTube is really, that's the main one, YouTube. And it's a lot to be on more than one platform. That's why I just do YouTube. That's it. It's like, man, it's tough to do YouTube and write books is a lot. But like with Secret Words, I was, again, you guys know I'm working on the Human Origins book, but Secret Words, when we go over some of the words from Spellcaster and Secret Words, which, I write in more than one genre. So everybody knows that I've written 4 books on dating and relationships, with 48 Laws of Dating, The Black Pill, Nightmare on Sperm Street, and The Dating Circus. But 2 books I've written that go into words, how, like, we can use anagrams. The word president can be respelled into the 2-word phrase is pretend. So when we look at president and then how it can be respelled, and again, it's all in the language. Look at respelled. It's spelling. It's like respelling the word to say, okay, this is like the magic of the mind, of understanding, like how a wizard would know the language and say, let me look and see if there's a spell in this word. Let me try to respell it, and bang, it can be respelled. So this is why I think that Secret Words and Spellcaster is better than, I don't want to use the word better, because there's a lot of people that really, really like the dating stuff, but I think this is more necessary when I go into the Human Origins thing. Just looking at the fact that it doesn't seem to be, it's a hidden spell. Oh man, I think this is a tough one. I got somebody here. I can't have anybody really crashing out the screen. Oh, he jumped off. Okay. I know it wasn't the other Jose. It was somebody. Let me see who it was. Yeah. I guess he's I think I know who it might have been. The trolls. The trolls are hilarious, It's funny because and that's another thing too, like with these words. Let me just take this word down. But when I look at the fact that Secret Words and Spellcaster is basically words that are similar, and Secret Words are words that are anagrams. So how we can take the word president and spell pretend is pretend, and say, wait a second, that relates to it as well. It's not like it's spelled a pet rock or something. You say, okay, red pet, president, whatever. If it, if it could respell that. No, it respelled something that's actually relevant to the word. It's like it makes you question, is that position pretend? Is that a pretend position? Yeah, it just adds Varun, good to see you, man. Always a pleasure. So that's where it's like the wizard, the language, the linguistic wizard, somebody who can go deep into it, because I'm not really that. I'm just base level, I would say, or intermediate. Other Alexis and other people have added stuff into the chat. I got to look through the previous streams with some really, really good anagrams that go way beyond. I mean, I put some deep ones in the book, like this one, the US presidential election. That phrase can be respelled again, like you're looking, is there a spell on this? Oh, there is a respelling. It can respell elite hustlers in a deception. Now when I look at this, I think about this over, and I think about other ones that I have looked through. And it's shocking. It's too far beyond chance, way far beyond chance. So yeah, the secret words and the knowledge and stuff like that. And, I think about like, wow, that does override the dating, the relationship, even though I'm not saying dating and relationships aren't important. It's just that where we come from is extremely important. The language we use is extremely communication. Those things, part of life. Those things, you have to have these things to go forward and understand, like, and grow. Like when I look at stuff, and I don't want to, like, if somebody just wants to stay stagnant, I do think about, well, who is it for me to really, I definitely can't push them. I can only say, hey, you know what, man? All right, you do your thing. I'm going to do my thing, and just leave it at a peaceful way. But I've noticed that just like in like these other scenarios where they set people against each other. They create a society, like with the Jose Delgado experiment when he did the radio frequency thing, it can alter behavior when you look at it. Now we know that's the radio wave part of it, the signal, the invisible thing we can't see that can travel through and manipulate things. It can be used as communication to transmit from one location and then receive from another, or transmit and the location possibly, in theory, could be the person. Gaia, good to see you. Head of state defeat Oates. Wow. Holy smokes. Look at that. Man, I got to go through and get all those other ones too, man. I should have been screenshotting it when that stream was going on, because I know it's been like maybe 5-7 streams ago, maybe more. But this is deep, man. So, because a head of state, you look at this now, head of state, and thank you, Gaia. I appreciate this. This is like, you look at it, head of state, and that's the person that's supposed to uphold the oath. If I'm remembering correctly, a head of state, that would be somebody that part of their duty would be to uphold the oaths of, I guess, the country that they're head of state. Yeah, to administer. Let me see. I'm going to just make sure, Lord Google, what is the head of state? So the head of state, I mean, I guess it can fall in to different categories, but they're saying the highest ranking official. Yeah, because I figured it could be different categories, because countries, like, might have a king compared to a parliament. The head of state is the highest ranking official. Okay, so highest ranking official in a sovereign state and acting. So like the president is the presiding officer. So he's the embodiment of the nation's unity and stability and continuity. But I mean, I don't see that too much in the present day. There's a lot of stuff going on where it just doesn't seem, I mean, things are getting exposed. I mean, politics, we already know, political zombies, man. Political zombies will be political zombies. And they're very, you have to be mentally equipped to deal with them. the mental shields, the understanding how to avoid certain conversations, to detect when somebody has a mental illness where they only know how to communicate through disrespect. They think disrespect is just it's another language. It is, in a way. It's actually disrespect. When somebody is uncourteous, would probably be another word for it too. There is an energy that goes with that, especially in the way people say it. And I notice people don't want to come to peaceful conclusions, to grow, to think. Like thinking about, okay, what is going on? Will voting help? Will voting help? Now, George Carlin said back in, I think, in the 70s on these old shows that when you think of voting, he goes, if somebody talks about voting, he goes, I know I'm not talking to a serious person. Now, there's always bits of truth in a joke, and it's so true. Gaia the Sage says Congress cross gen. Okay, wow. I've always thought if progress is forward, then Congress would be reverse. Ironic, considering the members of Congress belong to the same generation, perhaps a clue towards helping this mess. Cross-gen. Oh, so gen like generation. Okay. I was thinking when I looked at the words gen, I thought about gender. But yeah, so Congress cross-generation. So, and you know what? They might, but they belong to you got some really old people in Congress and these other positions. Oh, basically like head of states and stuff. You have some really, straight mummies these people, it's Biden, like, 100 years from now, and they're still alive. When you look at some of the people that are holding office, it doesn't seem that they're mentally fit, in my opinion. That's the crazy thing. They'll get the bought and paid for psychologists to say, oh no, these people are mentally fit. So it's like having a nut that's in the nut house telling you that somebody else, he's saying, no, this person is not a nut. It's like, wait a minute, you're a nut. And in saying nut again, when we look at the stuff, this is crazy, man. It's Nut House City. It's definitely the left wing of the asylum and the right wing of the asylum. And right in the middle, when you walk into the asylum, is the Oval Office, man. It's crazy. Alexis, good to see you, brother. Says, MD, thoughts on O.J. Simpson? I'm not really sure. Like, what do you mean? Like during the trial, or like his whole football thing or something? I was a little too young to really, he was like, I think, a football star from like the 80s, I guess. Let me see. O.J. Simpson. Oh, he passed, huh? Oh, smokes. Because I thought he was a football star. On Wiki, it has some stuff here. The Juice, yeah, because this is a little bit, before I remember hearing about it, like, so basically ball chaser. So he's like O.J. Simpson, definitely ball chaser, king ball chaser. So this is ball chasing Kang. Was he really innocent? Okay. Was he really innocent? I'm going to look, Supreme Court computer ruse. Wow. This computer ruse. So yeah, like a ruse. I think with the innocent thing with him, something's really odd with that whole situation when I think about it. Something was very, it sparked up the that was around the time, I think with the thing with that, it was right around the time I was in the army or coming out of the army, that I saw people, and I saw a lot of black people. This black lady, man, she was like going every day. She was so cracked out on the O.J. Simpson trial. I saw people just like glued to it. It was soap opera city. And she, a lot of those people were saying, oh, he did it. I guess, I don't know if she was conservative or what, but it was really, I didn't really care. That was the craziest thing, because I was saying, man, everybody is thinking about OJ. But I did know that football was something that, I was just never interested in. I was like, I'd rather just exercise, work out, lift weights. But the weird thing is, I heard Johnny Cochran passed, a lawyer. Um, Honestly, I didn't follow it enough, man, to know. I have to be honest about that. I'd have to look. I don't know if I can give you like a good opinion of it right now. CD, what's up, man? Good to see you. How do I stop age? Oh man, you know what? Maybe we're forever already. Alexis says, "MD, thoughts on the FBI deputy director Dan Bonigo saying black pillars of wow? I didn't know Dan Bonigo. I don't know. Let me see. Dan Bonigo. Dan. Okay, so he's a radio host and former deputy director of the Federal Bureau. Holy smokes. It's like you got all these high level law enforcement officials, and I don't he's an American conservative. So he honestly, when you think about it, right? It people don't understand, and this now it lets us see how important communication is. For him to say this about black pillars, right? And again, putting them in the context of it's like a group or something, or so that right there is the misconception, which where you're asking the question about what he's saying. That's the misconception, is he's putting people, oh, black pillars. No, it's not. Nobody can be really a black pillar. It's like when they say a truther, oh, he's a truther. Remember, this is like some plantation type talk. I noticed how they really like to slip this stuff in. People now, correct way, we know words very important, would be people that are black pilled. People that are black pilled, that understand. So somebody would say, well, what do you mean people that are black pilled? Well, people that know the truth, people that had the choice, which it used to be to take the red or the blue, and the red would be to wake up. But we saw that the dating roaches just destroyed any integrity whatsoever, and the fake masculinity movement, basically, to say that the red pill was like knowledge and aware stuff, but basically they were just selling anger and stuff like that. And we saw the effect that it had on people, and it was in disguise. It turned into the blue pill. And I remember they tried to fight it off. They tried to fight it off with the purple pill stuff. They tried to. So the first thing is to be like, look, man, it's not, unless he really knows what the truth is, it could be that he's saying the truth is destroying the truth. The truth will always destroy a lie, man. Now, aging can be beautiful, man. Aging can be a beautiful thing, especially if you keep in shape, exercise. That's what I've noticed. If I slack off, then you start to be like, oh man, and eating is so important, like good stuff, and don't eat a lot. And it's hard. It's hard because food is basically, the drug foods are everywhere. The candy treats, like those candy and those snacks, those are like dog snacks for human. I mean, I was a snack fiend. Yeah, it just it's the Fifth Element. Well, and you know what? I don't know. With me, it's different, man. I saw a guy who, and I couldn't even believe this, man. The picture was saying it was a video actually too. He was like a health fitness dude. This was years ago, and he was like 80. And we all know, I mean, I always like to work out my whole life. I was in the military, athletic, not really bulky, but this guy was like 83, I think it was. And he's still, it's usually when you get older, your chest, if you exercise a little, even do push-ups, your pectoral muscles have a certain firmness to it, and you can see the shape. As the guys get older, if you don't exercise, you got to keep in shape. And this dude was still in shape. And I was like, I was like, holy smoke. So I've seen the difference with people like Jack LaLanne. I think they said he passed from pneumonia, but he was like in his 90s, I think. So it's like if you're, I used to think about it. If you want to go, right, uh, why not be happy and be in decent shape when you go? And then it also makes me think about going, Black Circle, what's up, brother? Good to see you, man. Always, bro. Timbo, good to see you, brother. He says, I've seen people trying to equate the BP to domestic. Yeah, man. Yeah, the domestic. Yeah, it's really messed up. Again, it goes back to how they try to demonize something with words. And that's where the language I'm seeing is just so important, because they'll say, oh, they're this or they're that. Just like, when it was the guy is saying black pillars, and it's like, no, it's not black. It's somebody who is aware of the truth. So in other words, it would have been them taking the black pill now, because the black pill is what the red pill represented. And then having to explain all of that to them, it's like having to explain to somebody like, look, because somebody looks different doesn't mean, like all the evolution thing, like to try to be like, look, that was all based on racism. It created the classifications of that because it wasn't really classified in a so-called, and this is the craziest thing, it's hard to comprehend because it's an organized chart, but not a scientific chart. So a pseudo, well, it's not pseudo organized. It's actually organized, an organized spectrum, or like listing, an organized listing of what they want progression to look like in a science of fakeness, basically a fake science that they try to say, oh, this is how life and everything started. And people don't see it's very, very important to understand how people will use words to manipulate you. That they'll that whole thing of trying to equate, the BP to all of that stuff is really, they're afraid of people getting aware. And possibly they could have, because I've noticed that if you do mostly just regular, not the edgy stuff, like the Tate, we saw the Tate stuff and all of that, the fact that people followed that's a very big indicator of the level of zombie that we see in the world. Like I remember friends that used to like a few of them were like, oh man, this guy. And I said, what are you, crazy, man? I said, this guy's a total, I guess maybe I just saw through it because I've seen a lot of people in my life, and you finally learn, and it's not to say that I was always ready to see those people. I'm constantly trusting people that turn out to be a garbage can. But I realize, I say, man, I got to get better at that. And there is ways. I guess I don't care about being manipulative. I'm sort of like, look, man, there's enough people around. It's like, and also I got to remember, even though there's enough people around to find other people, I think we've all hung out with people that we shouldn't be hanging out with, because maybe there was nobody to hang out with. And maybe we shouldn't have even been hanging out. Maybe we didn't want to hang out by ourselves, because I look at some of the times throughout my life where I hung out with people that it's like, wow, it would have been much more productive not hanging out with those people. And the reflection of looking back through life, I think, is what teaches us more than the experience itself. The experience teaches you through feeling and shock and holy smokes. That's how life works. Life tests you, and then you learn. That's reality. In school, they try to rewind us in a way that kind of is confusing, to say, okay, no, we'll let you study and then take a test. Well, life don't work that way. You don't get to study. If you observe, yeah, but sometimes stuff happens and you got to know how to deal with it. And the people, or times that people don't deal with it, we already see what happens. And school, it feels to me that it puts that backwards. It's horrible. When I think about the schooling thing, because I thought about what other people had told me. They said, look, man, they go, where would it begin at? And I give Drew a lot of credit, Drew My Fitness, who came on here, because he has his fiance homeschool the kids. He works constantly 7 days a week. And I was like, man, that's a really, because he's got, 3 kids. And it's like, he does the organic thing. And I'm like, man, that's like, you're going on the next level. So that they understand the food, because he's been a vegan for so long. But I think they eat meat and stuff like that. So, because he's not strict like that with them. But his diet, he's a nutritionist. So he's been schooled and all of that, even though we know that you don't need to be schooled. But yeah, he really, starting it with the education, and to say like, okay, I'm going to sit somebody in a classroom and just bore them to death. I mean, that's what I felt school was like in elementary. It was kind of boring. There might have been a few days that was like kind of cool, but it's sort of like the fact that we can't remember too much. And I try to think and remember certain times in kindergarten and throughout the elementary grades. And then, once getting into junior high and high school, where I guess the breaking of the family, divorce and stuff, gave me the freedom to work. And I did want to work before that. When I was like in junior high, that was it was sort of like, yeah, you want to make money, because I was a kid that didn't get really allowance. That's the thing. When I look at kids that get allowance, kids would get allowance back then, but I didn't. It just yeah, I look at that like, wow. When I went to stay with my father for a while, he gave me like some allowance, but yeah, I was already like 15, so I had been working. Alexis says, Jose is the schoolhouse. Just bores you to death with pointless. Yeah, man, that stuff can get, and it's like he might need to be classified as like a sedative, because you listen to him and you falling asleep, man. If it goes 20, 30 minutes straight, tranquilizer. Yeah, just, some people, I try to keep it to where, I don't know, I guess like CD saying, man, I don't know, man. I mean, I guess, you know what I think it might be, if I try to think why I still act very youthful and stuff. I mean, well, I do, the classification wise, I mean, I'm not old, but I ain't young. So, so that's the main thing. I ain't old, but I ain't young. So if in a way you don't know how old you're going to live. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to live to be 150. Who knows? I could die tonight, tomorrow, the next day, whenever. We don't know. We don't know when we're going to go. And I don't think people take that serious enough, because when I think about that, it kind of makes me value the moment more, and also value the past. I start to think of the memories, and I'd be like, wow, man, yeah, this is something like, wow. Because if I'm not examining it, it doesn't make sense. And it's weird because, of course, yeah, they got that ancient Greek or Roman saying, I don't know, Socrates or something, about the unexamined life isn't worth living. So I think it was Socrates, the unexamined. This is the great thing about Google, the unexamined life. Okay, so yeah, and it pops up with the search. This is just amazing. Life spent without self-reflection, questioning beliefs, and seeking virtue is meaningless. Yeah, it can be, man. It can be to an extent. I mean, having fun is something that is really enjoying, because I'm not even sure, because fun just doesn't explain it well enough. Enjoying is really what, enjoying something, what it's about. Saying, okay, I'm enjoying doing this, and thinking if once a person, when you think about it, if a person enjoys thinking, you have a different way of doing stuff. If you're enjoying thinking, it's sort of like it's like playing a board game without the board, without the video game, just playing it with words and how words work, feelings, how words can invoke feelings. Because when we look at that, we say, wait a minute, a word, you can say something to somebody in a certain tone and say the same word in a different tone. It can have two totally different effects. And then there's things you can say, really, regardless of how you say it, it's because it's more of the content of the words that will cause a response as well. And I've noticed that people are very quick to respond. They're very, I mean, I hope the ads aren't on this thing. I gotta check it. Yeah. I was saying that, yeah. But yeah, let me check that. Yeah, yeah, let me go back to this. This is the I'm trying to see who said this on the quote. Yeah, I think it was Socrates. Yeah, Socrates, famously stated in his work Apology. So, urging continuous philosophical inquiry. Yeah. So basically, uh, you got to, inquire on your values, your purposes. Purpose, man. When I look around, and again, American Zombie. This is why, because when we look at, like, do people actually have, or do they? I mean, when they say a purpose, it's like, okay, do you think that's really your purpose? I don't think sometimes when I look at even people that are, successful with, making videos and stuff like that, that that they're satisfied. Like, there has to be something deeper. It's like, what is, when I start to see people that have passed, and I don't really see, like I start to see, like, wow, there's not too much mention by many, people thinking, like, remembering. I mean, I remember constantly. I'm sitting there like, wow, man, this is really, you start to value these things and say, going forward, this is going to happen. This is going to happen going forward. But nobody wants to really talk about it, with, which is going into what somebody could call the next, the afterlife, death, or what some evolutionists think it's nothing. And I mean, I really, when I think about that, of course, every religion has their belief, and the evolution belief will, by logic, you start to see, just like when you compare it to many of the other religions, it doesn't stand up. It's like, well, wait a minute, death, or the next, the afterlife, the that is something that we cannot imagine, that I doubt very much. It's sort of like, okay, if you think it's that, okay, we go into nothing, that the consciousness just dissipates, basically, then that is not scientific. That is your belief. And that's the thing. Once you say that, the religious zombie, or the evolutionist zombie, which is religious, so because they try to act like it's not a religion, will go into a sort of defense mode, and they'll start to try to explain how things started. And it's like, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about consciousness. And when you bring it up, they'll say, oh, well, they're figuring it out. No, 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 they're not. What do you mean? How is that science? So that they don't know. But instead of saying, well, yeah, they can't explain that. And so it's like, okay, so if we look at this scientifically, does the consciousness, where does it go? Does it evaporate? Does it recycle the way the physical does? So we do see that the physical can be recycled. I mean, we see people, they can be cremated, they can be buried, mummified, stuff like that, to say, okay, so the physical, that's kind of odd. The physical can be recycled into fertilizer, or it can be preserved. And now, what about the other part? Where did that go? And scientifically, to have this conversation and even go into human origins and stuff like that, it's very hard to find people that will go 100%, because it's sort of like walking through, not even in a vehicle, walking through the forest or the jungle, and you don't know where you're going to step. And it's kind of like how that Alice in Wonderland thing is. If you step in the wrong place, you fall into the rabbit hole. And it's like, in the jungle or the forest, also, you don't want to step into where some, wild animals, something crazy, stuff like that. And that's how searching for the truth is. because it's like I'm stepping into certain things and saying, wait a minute, this is literally uh just almost unbelievable. And I think that is what happens with people that encounter things that are like uh metaphysical, I guess is a good way to put it, like more than physical, and think, okay, how does this happen? How does um when I search for truth, right? Especially with genetics, and I say to myself, okay, um oh man, I wish I could. I wish I could. And I think, when I think, thank you, CD man. I don't know the way life is going. It's like it's kind of tough. I mean, I would say within the next, it probably already they have some type of way people can join artificially. Like we do see people with prosthetic limbs and stuff like that. And who knows? It might be some RoboCop type stuff where how they kept them alive and stuff with in the movie with the technology, and but he's still able to walk and function and everything, but he just doesn't have he has a metallic body. And that was the newer one. I mean, they got a little crazy with the effects, the way it was like, oh man, you could see it was the fact that the ability to have better special effects was there. It's like it was shown like, okay, it gave it a little more dramatic to it, to say, okay, even though the first one was good too. The first one was good too. Vegan Skeptic, brother, good to see you, man. I got the link pinned to the top of the chat if you want to hop on, brother. Always a pleasure, man. It's always a pleasure. It's yeah, the RoboCop thing, so in the future, I'm thinking it's how they do it. If we can figure out too. We can live, and yeah, you're right, man. The Greenland shark living to 500 years, and that's just what they are telling us, the ones that they're showing. So I would speculate, right? And this is a scientific speculation that makes sense, that the religion of evolution will try to act like it doesn't make sense, because it's like everything when you look into that belief system, and it's nothing against the person with that. It's saying that this person really doesn't know. It's kind of like I tell people, look, I'm smart enough to know I'm stupid, but imagine not being that smart to where I wouldn't know that I'm being stupid. So if we can admit our ignorance and see that, wait a minute, I got to be kind of looking for that, like lurking over my shoulder. And all the time, the unawareness. Once we go back into that unawareness, the Greenland shark, it's like, I think about, what about other stuff too? There has to be other stuff, whales and squids and stuff in the deep that might be thousands of years old. Even on Earth, who knows? Who knows? I mean, that whole thing of a kind of academic shame if somebody thinks in that direction, to say, oh, that's unscientific. It's like, well, no, that's not unscientific. That's actually going in the direction of science, saying that we have things that live that old. And they'll say, oh, no, but we're working on something because we took that animal and just defiled it by chopping it up and seeing how it works and all of this stuff. I mean, that's some monstrous stuff, and they'll do it in the name of, oh, we're going to be able to cure something, or some type of claim they're trying to make for a certain thing that they probably cause, instead of realizing that, wait a second, if this fish is living, if this fish is living with this, there has to be like, and then we look into some ancient like legends and stuff where they say certain characters and rulers lived for hundreds, a few lived for thousands of years, or their reign was over thousands of years. Now, I mean, it could be saying, okay, are they talking about their lineage, like, a certain lineage, or a person, a deity or a ruler actually living to 12,000 years or something? So now this stuff is it needs to be studied. But clearly we see like there's gatekeepers that interview that Rogan did with Zawi Hawass. I mean, that it was just ridiculous. Yeah, man. I mean, I think the question that can live, how come? I think it's something, and I don't know if it's something like genetic, and this is just in my opinion. It's something that it could be that, and also I think pollution and stuff. And there's so many. It's like it seems that they got all these different things that can cause a person to not live to a ripe old age. Like we look at certain things. We look at some people that pass with pneumonia at a younger age. Yeah, I do think about that. I wonder. I mean, but again, the quality of it is really apparently the immortal jellyfish can age regress. Yeah, and they're finding out there's other animals too. They're saying that the octopus, that there's a species of octopus that can rearrange its DNA. I gotta look for the clip again. But yeah, and I was looking at a study on it, and it's like, wow. So we have a the immortal jellyfish alone is just like, you think about that, it just it's like, holy smokes, man. Holy smokes. Amazed, man. Good to see you. Facts. Self awareness of one's limitations is a strength. Being blind to them is disastrous. Yeah. And you know what makes it even scarier is I know that stupidity and ignorance is always lurking over my shoulder. It's like, that's why I got to remember, like, hey, am I like, again, it makes me think of sayings like the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and you think about that and you say, wow, okay, I'm not religious, but it's like, okay, let me, let me think about that and say, okay, so sometimes you try to help somebody and you start to see like, man, I should have just, I put it out there, and if it helps, great. If not, great. So it's not like there's a push on it. Take it or leave it. And if somebody like pushes it, oh no, let me, help you. Yeah, that's great. But sometimes we see that it can lead to things where it's like, man, we see people stop doing it. But then there's also the opposite part of it, so you have both sides of that. But yeah, you self-awareness, man. I tell you that, because I looked for a word when I was thinking about putting together a paper about stupidity, which is what Cipolla wrote about. Cipolla wrote the I think it's the 5 basic laws of human stupidity. And then before that, I think Dietrich Bonhoeffer wrote about stupidity in the concentration camps of World War II. And before they finally got to the camp to free him, they had already executed him. And but his writings live on, and his philosophy, and you look at it and you start to say, yeah, this is a serious thing that needs to be looked at as human thought. Because if we don't realize it, we can be controlled mentally and not even know we're being controlled. Now, to support that scientific hypothesis right there, now we can look, do we see any examples of this? And we see it clearly as day. We see that if you look at any protests and the interviews and stuff that people talk, you can even ask, and people can be honest and say, yeah, they've talked with people and realize just how much like of a cognitive dissonance they hold in their mind. Like they'll believe one thing and believe another. And it's like, you can't believe both of those things at the same time. You can't believe left is left and then believe right is left as well. No, you got to have, you got to have differentiation. And people are just out to lunch. And there are chemicals and stuff and radio waves. There's just so much stuff that we don't know about that could be affecting people in a certain way. Yeah, it makes me wonder, man. Alexis says, why are human beings the only species to laugh? I think laughing hyenas, right? I mean, monkeys and stuff. I think there are animals that laugh. I'm not sure. Now, cry too. There are instances of what would look to be sorrow. Like they have videos on YouTube. You can see the bird, the poor bird, the other bird got like crushed or something or died. And the bird is there saying, oh my goodness, it just, yeah, man. Clothes. I'm trying to think. Well, Okay, would it be considered clothing or a type of armor, like that hermit crab that pulls the thing off? That wears the shell. So could that be considered? And like you think about that, it's like what made? How did that? There's no way that's going to evolve. You have something that needs the shell of another, like a snail that died, and it goes into that how does that work? How does that thing stay alive long enough and then eventually say, you know what, all right, I'm going to try to get this shell, and then it knows that it's going to outgrow the shell and it's got to change the shells. I mean, just looking at stuff like, so the hermit crab, would that classify as clothing? Because I've thought about this too, and that's a great question, Alexis. Oh, definitely not, man. Yeah, definitely not. It just it you know animals are honestly in some areas smarter than humans. Some areas we might be smarter, but it always reminds me that, again, we got to think like we might be more stupid than we think, and that's the problem. And thinking that we're smarter than animals. So if we look at it from this way, and this is a great question, because it shows us that if we hold back our ego and we say, you know what, or just honest, curious, you look at it, it's like, if I observe life and I realize animals are amazing. I mean, everything is amazing. The environment is living. It's literally living. You look at a forest or a jungle or even a desert. Everything has, I mean, you have what you see in the macro, and then you have the micro, and then even on our bodies. I mean, it's just, and more than that, like the animals, like I know you're talking about like mammals and reptiles and stuff like that, and avian birds, but also the micro animals. There's an intelligence there that's just like, holy smokes. Uh, Timbo said, "Yep. Sadly, I've seen dog and cats be better parents than some humans." Yeah, man. Yep. I tell you, some animals, you see more morality in some animals. So it's not saying that humans are totally immoral or animals are totally good. It's saying that we see that there could be something, and I'm not sure what it is, that inhabits certain things. And it doesn't matter if it's an animal, if it's a human, if it's, something, a tree. Because when I look at existence, it looks very uh created in a way. Now, I know religion is on the other side of the evolution. It seems that religion is on the other side of evolution, because evolution is so deceptive. It makes you think that it's on the scientific side, opposing religion, but it's not on the scientific side. It's on the same side as religion, because it is a religion. It's a belief system. It's not based on science. We already see that it's based on evidence that is found, on incorrectly assessing evidence. So instead of saying, okay, this bone was found in this part of Africa in 3 meters of dirt in this area, and then they add in, and that makes it 3 million years old. Now, that is not science. The bone being found in 3 meters of dirt, that's accurate description if it can be verified. Because if it can't be verified, then now that also becomes suspicious. But it can't be science, because you're saying, wait a minute, gee, there's no way to confirm this. It's like, and it's not something that is a technical science where you need to know this for sure. So if somebody gets the dating off, it's not hurting anybody. But in a way, it does hurt people intellectually. This when I think about it, oh, Divine Hazel, what's up? Good to see you. Always a pleasure. Always. Yeah, this thing, when I think about how they control the mind through controlling where you think humans comes from, or where anybody thinks, because then we also have the other people that do want to think out of the religious framework. But the problem is they fall into another type of religion, whether it be like an astral, something like that. And nothing against people that want to believe in something different, but just to know that it's a belief. And this is where the religious people, spiritual, they're more aware because they know it's a belief. They're like, yeah, yeah, that's my belief. And that's great because now it requires no proof because the person is honest enough to say, yeah, no, I just believe it. Because there are things like, yeah, I don't have scientific proof, but I would look at it as, okay, it makes sense that it goes this way. And then once, if we have anything that can be scientifically repeated, empirical science, where it's measured, where it, you can document it. Now, wow, this is a fact. This is a fact now. And it happened by just thinking and going forward and saying, okay, when I look at just something as simple as, say, a beetle or an ant, I mean, this is an amazing life form. How, okay, how does this come to be, right? They'll have old fossils of ants and they'll say, okay, this was found in 10 feet of dirt and this is so many millions of years old and it's related to this ant that you see today. It looks the same, but it's a primitive version. But we don't know. When we look at it, we say, well, and anybody can look these things up, and you say, well, wait a second, this looks kind of like the same thing. We see it with fossils of certain marine animals. We see it with other fossils. With certain dinosaurs, there are fossils of like regular animals as well too. That's something a lot of people don't mention. They'll try to bring in, oh, it's a prehistoric version or something like that. No, how do you know? How do you know? Like if you say, okay, it's a prehistoric version, okay, that's your opinion. Great. That's an opinion. That's not science. And that's where the religion of evolution comes in. That fine line is very hard to realize. It's very hard to see that because this is the psychology of words. This is how easily people can believe in a theory as if it was a fact and say, oh, no, we definitely, hey, we start. And I think when I was speaking with Vegan Gains, right? I was speaking with Vegan Gains on another stream. And I asked him, I said, just give me some proof of evolution. And he was, he talked about the whale bone and all of that. And I said, well, wait a minute, a whale bone, right? And then another whale bone, 3 whale bones. And you're telling me that one turned into the other. That's not empirical science. I could put 3 animals. You could see a baboon, a monkey, an ape, and a chimp and say, oh, you see, they all evolve into each other. And at first you might say, well, they look similar, but you're telling me so they change into the other. But why are the different ones here right now then? Where is the intermediate changing species? And we know that doesn't exist. We see similar type of primates. We see similar reptiles. You see certain chameleons, iguanas, bigger reptiles, monitor lizards and stuff like that. So, and this is just from observing. This is just from observing life and saying, hey, I don't think this just happened by accident. But for people that need to look at it in a scientific way, which is the way I'm going to look at it, which I see is rare, is to say, okay, where do we go from here? Okay, I'm saying, all right, so we don't want to disrespect religion. We want to say, okay, religion, everybody has a piece of the puzzle. And it's not even just being respectful by saying piece of the puzzle. Everybody really does have a piece of the puzzle. If you look at all, and piece of the puzzle to what? To the picture of reality. So to see reality, we know that we're not seeing the full reality, because if we think 10 years ago, we do not know back then what we know now. We can see how we have just at least learned more things in the last 10 years. If a person hasn't really improved much, hopefully they would know something more. So we have, we can observe this. We can see this. And that empirical science is really the way I would say, okay, we would look at everything, we'd say, okay, so what do we really know? Religion, what pieces of the puzzle do they have? All right, they're saying, all right, everybody, they're constantly saying that something or some deity created people. And then that's just the single deity, the single God. So the single God religion is saying that the poof happened. Like when Mr. X was here talking with me, the poof is just poof. Like it's not scientific, it's just saying poof. It's saying I'm okay with it just being like poof, it happened. And I'm saying I want to know about the poof. I want to know, okay, I think that the physical, it seems through genetics that the physical, it has been created somehow. Now, where it was created, that's what I start to get into, to start to say, okay, this is the research I have that shows me where humans or where life in general, like it seems like we've been so taught to believe instead of think that, okay, is this like believable? Like, does this make sense? That, okay, everything started in some type of accident that started to form cells in water that created little forms of life that eventually turned into fish and then crawled on the land to turn into a reptile and then branch off and turn into like monkeys and birds and stuff like that. And then some of those monkeys turn into humans. It's so ridiculous when you think about that, right? I mean, this is the way I'm looking at it, in my opinion. I'm thinking about it. It makes you question, like at first you have the question. So I question that, man, wait, how do people not see this? Now, the problem is the people that do see it, that do admit it, have a religious agenda. So now that leaves nowhere for the scientific person to go. They have to stand their ground and say, okay, look, you're definitely right about some of the stuff on the scientific stuff where there's no proof for the evolution. And it's actually lies that have been exposed. People trying to make things fraudulent to say, oh, it proves evolution. And it was found out to be a like purposeful fraud, not even an accident. So we have that. But that same person would be like their religion is telling the whole truth about how people came to be. So we know if we're looking for the scientific route, we know that's not true, with no disrespect to the people who believe in whichever religion it is. We're saying, look, that's your belief. See, now their belief goes beyond just the belief, because now they're trying to oppose it upon you to say, look, or if they're not trying to impose it upon you, even better, you just say, okay, that's your belief. So that you know that you can't really talk to a person that has a belief, whether even if it be evolution, to say, okay, hey, that's your belief. The thing is with them is they'll say, no, that's not their belief. That's science. And it's like, no, it's definitely not science. It's definitely not science. Now, the religious person of one of these religions, whether it be, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, it has, because that's polytheistic, it still has a creation stuff, but it's much more open, like Egyptian and Greek and Roman, where it's open to different deities, like more of a pantheon, which again are different pieces to the puzzle that might let us see a little bit deeper into what reality is really about, to say, hey, so this is what reality is about. So, oh, okay. So it's a forward movement. It seems to be forward. That is showing me different types of how reality changes. How, it really, it's when the more I think about it, I see why people have come to like the simulation type stuff. Because even that, again, the Matrix, I see how they might have developed that to say, okay, so I see what you're saying, because it's really dealing with thought. Because if you really look at the Matrix stuff, it deals a lot with thought. But reality is reality. I mean, physical reality, the fact that we can feel it, to have the conversation, oh man, is almost non-existent. It's non-existent. It's like the video that I had made for the zombie thing. Here, I'm gonna play it just to
The zombie spectrum contains 8 main categories, all of which are meant to control the mind of someone who is unaware. Today, we'll focus on the 7th category, which is politics. Only those who can see through the illusion will notice how politicians transform while speaking to other zombies. But most of the time, they'll be able to contain it and regain their composure without losing support from their zombies. This type of behavior can be seen taking place on both sides. Whether it's red or blue, the zombie always slips out.
Ask not what America will do for you.
The population of voters don't care because they're just as zombified as the creature they worship that lurks behind the podium. Once it regains composure, it's business as usual, and the parade continues to drain the intelligence of anyone who believes them.
Which we bring to this endeavor will light our country and all who serve.
Then, the political zombies will search to infect others that still have the ability to think, but logic and reason will make them retreat. This forces them to break character and reveal themselves for what they really are. This type of behavior can be traced back in part to the 5th category in the zombie spectrum, school, where students are forced to sit and listen until they become zombified by the teacher. And if we interview the parents, one may realize that they themselves are zombies in disguise. They can play the role, but if you're a survivor who knows where to look, you'll begin to notice what's hiding just beneath the surface. They push their children to follow zombified teachers until that final day of graduation approaches.
I finally graduated.
The modern-day graduate becomes someone devoid of critical thought, released into the wild to roam as just another zombie of society.
yeah, the zombies of society are everywhere. And even though I'm not gonna continue with too many more of the zombie things, I have like a couple clips like the schoolhouse zombie.
Just believe what they tell you.
And a few others. There's a couple. I mean, I might continue some of them, but yeah, it's I mean, the zombies. Yeah, man, the zombies are everywhere. But I don't think, like in producing everything for American Zombie, I don't think it's actually gonna really help a lot of people. The zombie spectrum, when I look at it, a person, we're all zombified to some extent. The food, the media, from schooling, we got to keep thinking like, wow, there's something that's always trying to get through to us. And it's different categories in that. So media could be movies, music, television, and then different subcategories of that. The movies, you have drama, romance. So it's like a thing that's constantly trying to get your attention. And if you develop your mind power to shield your mind from the zombies that try to eat the thoughts out of your head, you can see with the vision, the mental vision, to go forward and walk through the landscape, because it's like a mental landscape that people don't talk about, that we have to navigate every day. A mental landscape where people don't think about it. They just follow. They're just like, okay, thinking can have a weight to it, like a feeling, like a stress comes with that. Or if you get like agile enough and you think more, you're going to start to be like an athletic thinker. So you can perform what they might say mental gymnastics and stuff like that. Now that can be done with logical stuff, computational, like mathematical arithmetic, and it can also be done with philosophical stuff, but also psychological stuff. The psychological stuff is on a level of high manipulation. If we don't understand how to deal with it, how would we know that we're not being psychologically um, controlled right now? That's a trippy thing to think about. That's real trippy to think about. To think about that. Wow. So wait a second. So I could be in a state of mind control right now. Now, thinking that, right? Thinking that, Mr. X, good to see you, brother. Thank you, bro. Thank you. Yeah, thinking of that I could be in a state of mind control right now allows me to possibly break that control. And this is ingenious to get people to egotistically just constantly fuel that ego to say, no, there's no way I could be in a mind control right now. And so that enables the mind control to stay like invisible, like stealthy, like some shadowy individual thing, that follows us, that stays on us, that because we ignore to even acknowledge that it exists. So it might even be in a way when they say something like the analogy of, oh, the greatest trick the devil ever played was to get people into believing that he didn't exist. So to think that to think that a person couldn't be in a state of mind control right now, that egotistical belief, that's where it hides. That's where it seems to hide. Say, oh, so you don't believe that can exist, that you can be stupid, that you can be mentally controlled right now, and not stupid in a bad way, stupid in a way that you're unaware. Because stupid really, that's what it would define, to say, look, so even if you try to help me, you might try to help me and it might be an accident or something. Like we see what happens. It's sort of like that old philosophical saying of the monkey pulling the fish out the water, right? And the monkey's putting the fish safely up the tree. So basically, the monkey, you think about it, it's like, wait a second. The monkey, the fish is fine in the water. So the monkey taking the fish out the water and putting it up the tree, saying, look, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you. You're drowning. No, he's in his element. He's in his element. And this is where it holds true to the thing of, okay, maybe you got to think, because you might think you're helping somebody and you're not. And that's just one thing when we interact with other people. Then we got to think, okay, am I being duped right now by something? Now we know the government, we're living under like a high school bully or like an elementary school bully that takes our lunch money. Because we're working, right? The only difference is we're working, and these bullies are taking our lunch money. It's the tax. When I think about that, and you look at it in that fashion, and all of the this movies, like with the stereotype of that, and you start to think to yourself, like, wow, you know what? It's basically like, yeah, they're taking more than lunch money. I mean, it's so brutal. It's such a mental submission that goes unacknowledged, that it has to have some type of subconscious, what's the word? Like an effect. It has to have an effect. This is something we don't realize too, that the subconscious, we forget that that's us. That's us. So we're walking around, if the conscious mind isn't expanding, right? So if we can expand it to say, well, wow, yeah, that's true. Shoot, man, this is I'm more than just me right now. I'm that subconscious part that can be expanded or even controlled. We have to be very careful. What have we been programmed with in our subconscious? And that's where the zombie spectrum and other things, we start to say, okay, they're trying. One thing we know is we might not figure out, and this is the thing, we might not figure out what we've been controlled with, maybe due to bias, belief, or just honestly not knowing. But we can see that they're trying to put some type of mind control, like certain media and stuff like that. You start to advertisement. Advertisement's a really good example. It's like, wow, they're trying to get me to buy something, basically. So they're trying to get me to buy something. And then it's like, why? Okay, one, they want to make money, right? They want to make money. But there are some that seem to be a little more deceitful, you know. So one, people, again, there's going to be a lot of spectrum. One, people that want to make money, but they want to make money by giving you a good product and doing good business with you. Another wants to make money by giving you a product that you're not really going to complain about. It ain't that good, but it's cheap. And then other people are going to rip you off. So now classifying things in this makes it easier. I guess this would be sort of like something that could be recorded as like the Superman tapes to teach people, if there's nobody around, to say, look, this is, if society is still like this, because even that landscape is probably going to change. It's definitely going to change. And that's another thing that we don't realize. There's going to be a time when none of this exists the way it exists right now. Just the way we're seeing that the older neighborhoods don't exist anymore and they're getting more advanced, which isn't a bad thing, you know, in some sense. In some countries, you can always go back and see stuff that looks older. But we know for sure that things have changed. Like say, oh yeah, wow, they built this, they put this here. Who they, right? Again, they. The they that hides there is just, yeah. That they, when I think about it, is another form of mind control. They. Who is they? They, it's like they is the one that does the civilization thing. Are they the ones that have humans build it back? How does that work? You know, it's so easy to say them and they, but I want to know, them and they are different them. Sometimes it's a different them. Yeah, I've noticed that. Sometimes it's a different then. And, you know, they'll say, well, they did this, or that's what they do. Now with government, we're seeing that it's always one them blaming the other them. We definitely see that. I mean, it's like they're playing backgammon or something. Now, a lot of people, it's funny. Well, I shouldn't say a lot, but more than I would hope, are waking up to the Trump fantasy, the Trump fantasy island. I think something with just seeing how fantasy island it is to believe in politics. Now, I don't know how long that's going to last. In another 4 years, they might have the mental programming bucket up to 2.0 and have people, you know, back at the polls. See, that's so funny when you think about that. It's like you see people at the polls and it's like, wait a second, these people are at the polls voting, thinking that their vote, that their button push is going to put the person in office, right? Now, let's just say it even did that, because when you look at it, you say, okay, you got 2 or 3 components, you know, usually 2 opponents. That's it, you know, because they're not trying to give you a big choice. They're not trying to give you a big choice. But the craziest thing is they're not trying to give you a big choice of something that's already fantasy island. It's already fantasy island. It's like, wait a minute. So I'm at a carnival and you're trying to tell me it's real. You're trying to tell me, yeah, the actors on there. Yeah. So that's the real people that are running the world and everything. All I know for sure, is this is like the show that's pushing the taxes, saying, hey, you know, and telling me like, hey, guess what? You know, you already know, man. April, that's tax, and we'll determine. You know, it's really, a guy had a video that said if you made $1.5 million on the books in New York City, you'd have to pay about, like you'd get about 747,000. So 750 is half. You'll get a little less than half. 747, $3,000 less than half of what you earn if you're working at a company or something like that. Certain companies, certain ways of making it. I think if you make the $1.5 million clean off of, say, commerce or something, you can pay $500,000. You can keep $1 million. So that's crazy too. When they got us saying, oh, wow, man, that's great. I can keep $1 million. I made $1.5 million, right? Or better yet, I made $3 million. And you're telling me that I got to give you $1 million? To keep 2, I mean, of course we're going to do it because we want to keep the 2 million. But just look at the reality of that. It's the ultimate humiliation. D4, you hit it on the button. You hit it on the button. It is so, and the thing is, it is like a subconscious humiliation when I think about it. A subconscious humiliation to where we just drown it out and say, you know what, man, that has to have some type of psychological pounding on the human psyche. It has to. And of course, they're never going to mention it. If we got to think that, oh, we need to hear a study, they say, oh, well, scientists say, you know, having to pay tax weighs on your mind. But it's like, wait, what do I even need to hear that? Because again, then I fall right back into the fantasy island saying, look, I already know. I understand the science. I trust my understanding of the scientific method. So it's not just a belief. It's saying, no, man, you've constantly, and your psychological the level of psychological control is on a very high level. So I gotta either just be smart to realize, because you ain't stopping really to pay the tax. Like some people say, oh well, we should protest. It's like, you already know that's immediate zombie. And it's not to say that person's bad, it's just to say they're zombified. They don't know, you know. So we look deeper into it and we say, man, this is like such a mind game. Power is based on a total psychological mind game. To think that one person has an authority, is better at making decisions for your life than you are. You say to yourself, well, wait a second, has he shown to do that? I don't know. I don't think so. In my opinion, I don't see that ever happening. I see always some type of news story that talks about a scandal. And I had said it before. It's like, doesn't anybody find it funny that there's no politician in America that has really went to jail? I mean, this guy just had felonies and stuff like that, and nothing happened with that. But isn't it kind of odd? It's kind of like saying, oh, wow. So this is where we don't see, you know, this is the in between where we don't see this unless we look. We have to look in between to say, oh. So nobody has ever been busted for corruption in none of these major positions. So I guess there's no corruption, right? I guess there's no corruption. That's the crazy part of it. That's the crazy part. To say, yeah, this is the corruption thing. I had I want to see, I don't know if it'll let me upload it, but I had a thing with I was reading off some of the stuff that I had for the, where is it? For the Human Origins book. Okay, let me see. I don't know if it's too big of a file. Yeah, that's it says it's too big. I wanted to play it. I'm gonna see if I got a smaller version. But yeah, it was saying that one's too. I was surprised. How long is that? Yeah, 6 minutes. I think it's got to be like half of that or something. But let me just see if I can find this here. It's a file for the Human Origins thing that I did have. Okay, so where is it? Yeah, I'm getting. Okay, the fab. This is the thing for the Human Origins that I was writing. Let me see. Hopefully this is lowers it. Okay, it overrode it. I think it oh man, I hope it works. I hope it works. Yeah. I think it's still too big. Oh yeah, that's crazy. That is freaking crazy. I'm gonna try to shorten it again. And okay. Try it again one more time to upload the human origins thing. Man, these guys are just brutal. These guys are brutal. Okay, I see it here. So, all right, it's at least a minute. So that's cool. At least it's like it has let me see. And this I was presenting like how the truth kind of hides. The truth hides to where people to where sometimes we don't see it at first. So it'll just hide. And until we look in that direction, we usually don't see it. And there's inventions and stuff like that that have been developed that prove this to be true. Penicillin happened in that way. The people that invented many inventions happened through that. Here's part of the intro to the human origins.
The truth hides in what we are told to ignore. It quietly emerges when attention is elsewhere and defenses are lowered. It slips through the cracks and enters at the most inconvenient moment. Arriving unannounced, never asking for permission, it doesn't hesitate to care, nor is it required to apologize. In absence of an invitation, the truth's appearance has a habit of being disruptive in a silent way, unsettling the foundations we were taught to trust, sometimes even dismantling beliefs that took a lifetime to build. So the truth exhibits patience. It does not argue or force itself forward. Instead, it smiles in secret, patiently waiting for someone to notice. But for many, discovery is not liberation. It is a threat, an intrusion that bruises the ego of certainty. History makes one thing clear. The most dangerous ideas are not those that were wrong. They are the ones that were accidentally right. Evidence refusing to be neglected, persisting until those who ignored it paid at their own peril, are extreme cases forcing us to accept a view of reality that can easily cause our demise if we do not take them into account. The truth hides in what we are told to ignore.
Yeah, that's it only let me upload about a minute and 10 seconds, minute and 15 seconds. But just kind of showing how the truth will be there, like the guy that created the penicillin, will credit it with noticing it. It was an accident. He left the petri dish uncovered, the mold started growing. He didn't discard it. He looked at it. And then that's basically what started the whole investigation to purify this mold, and it became one of the leading the most amazing an amazing scientific breakthrough when you think about it, by accident. So it wasn't like somebody was searching for something that could deal with certain bacteria. It's sort of like it happened from the sideline. And that's where the truth sits. It sits in the margin. It sits on the side, waiting, for when the question gets soft, to where people, the witch hunt, is like it dies down. It kind of quiets. And now somebody's looking around and they say, well, wait a second. Holy smokes. And this is what we see with the whole human origin thing. They say, wait a minute, how, now that I'm thinking, how does this work? It's like, wait, we don't know. You think about that. It's like, wait, that's a hard place to begin at. That's a hard place to admit that we don't know. It's like, okay, so we're going to begin where we're at. We don't know. We don't know how we got here. Religion tells me that it was, the nice, neat package, and get the whole vacation, right? If I listen, I get the whole so it's basically selling me a vacation in a gated community right? The pearly gates, right? But and isn't it funny how if you don't take that deal, they want to offer you the other gated community, the gates of hell. And it's like, okay, so either or, it's a gated community, right? Heaven or hell. And you why, right? Then evolution is just straight face down, uh just not even caring, just being like, hey, you know what, hey, it's nothing, man. And just total, that's like a denial fest. When I think about the evolution thing, full-blown denial fest. It's like nothing, hey, there's nothing beyond this. It happened by chance. And they're not religious, though, right? It's a belief system. They believe that, because one thing we know is what we believe is not really true. We know that. If you believe, like some people might say, well, if you believe in something enough, you can, kind of manifest it. I'm not talking about that not being true. There could be, there's some possibilities to it. There's some very strong possibilities, but I'm talking about other types of belief. If you believe that you can, basically, like walk on water, or basically breathe underwater, something that ain't gonna happen. No matter how much belief that you have, you're not going to be able to do that. So, so belief has its limits. It has its limits. And this is why I talked about the truth thing, to say in the clip, to say like, look, this is something that is only some people are going to see it. I don't see a way that it can be taught. It's more like something to where somebody just has to notice it. And we kind of, if we think about our own times where we've ignored stuff, which is the basis of the word ignorance, we see that, oh, okay, that awareness, if I don't ignore stuff, imagine how much more that I'll be aware of. Because if you're not ignoring it, you're being aware of it. You're saying, no, I understand. I hear what you're saying. Like sort of like, say you're a businessman at an office and you're saying, oh, yes, I know those things need to be addressed. So I'm aware of it. I'm aware. Now, am I aware? Am I going to take action? Like even not taking action is an action, basically. Saying, okay, he didn't do anything. So to be aware of the situation, right? And say, okay, yeah, I'm aware of that. So I know I'm aware of that, as opposed to not even knowing you're unaware. And not knowing you're unaware, it goes into it goes into a state of denial that's very hard to reach the person, because now they go from fantasy island into fairyland. So now in fairyland, it's just a point to where it's very hard to get to them. Very hard in fairyland. Fairyland is like, yeah, you're looking at somebody who is going. Look at the protesters and look at the Trump supporters and Biden supporters, all the political supporters, all of that stuff. If you look at those rally interviews, that's when you see just straight somebody that's out to lunch, and it's really sad, because it's not it's not the person, it's the behavior. It's definitely the behavior to say, okay, if we change the behavior, and to look at that as just being mature, is to say, okay, if a person changes their behavior, then it'll be cool. But if they don't change their behavior, they're not cool, because it's really about behavior. You say, wow, this person used to feel this type of way, which was causing others either stress or harm or something like that. And they changed. They changed what? They changed their behavior. So it has a lot to do with our behavior, how we behave ourselves. Now, we can control our behavior, but there are also, the hard thing is to figure out that, well, really to accept, to be like, man, because this is where we can slip back into that that mode of thinking that we know something or we're aware of something, but we're not acknowledging, sort of like, thinking that, oh yeah, I know what's going on, but really we don't know totally what's going on. Now, if I don't know what's going on, I'm going to become more aware, because I'm trying to find out what's going on now. Thinking I know that everything is going on puts me to sleep more. To say, okay, there's nothing to think about because I know everything. I know how stuff started. Oh, it was no, it was a big bang, man. You know, it's like, look, and then a puddle and then some cells and stuff. And it's like, well, okay, what about consciousness? Well, they're going to figure that out. So they've already made up their mind, that part of the evolution religion. The other people who are religious openly, that's cool too. They're like, hey, you know what? Poof, it happened. I'm here. I'm planning on the vacation with the pearly gates. Other people just straight don't even care. Like with the Satanist stuff, they're planning on the metal gates. They're definitely metal gate. It's hilarious when you think about it. When you look at it, it is really like a show. It is really like a show. You think that people, it's like they're instead of thinking that, hey, you know what? I might not know what the next life is. I don't know how would I know? Right? They have bought the pre-packaged, or have been, some people, they've been really traumatized since youth to believe the preformed package of who they should believe they are, and believe it. So instead of that feeling that many people had when they were younger of who they were before the world was influencing them on who they should be, if we can remember that allows some growth to be like, oh wow, I really did. It's not that I used to like that. Sometimes it's more like I still like that, but something happened and I kind of held it back because of that. But with let me see, just wanted to play just 20 seconds of it.
It quietly emerges when attention is elsewhere and defenses are lowered. It slips through the cracks and enters at the most inconvenient moment, arriving unannounced, never asking for permission. It doesn't hesitate to care, nor is it required to apologize. In absence of an invitation, the truth's appearance has a habit of being disruptive in a silent way, unsettling the foundations we were taught to trust, sometimes even dismantling beliefs that took a lifetime to build.
So dismantling the beliefs that it took a lifetime to build, when we think about that, right? So dismantling beliefs that took a lifetime to build. That, when I think about that, it's like that is something that can be hard for somebody to leave behind. But there are people that I see that do believe that do leave it behind. Like people have been traumatized. I see it in many religions, that people say, yeah, then it's not that they go atheist, but they're just like, look, man, I can't deal with the full blown illogical stuff. And that's understandable if we can look at it maturely, that it is illogical, and not try to say that, oh, it's some nutcase stuff. Even if it is some nutcase stuff, it could be rattlesnake, something like that. Because you see that and you say, you know what, if I analyze that scientifically and say, okay, why are these people dancing with rattlesnakes in a church? Now we become the sort of David Attenborough, the kind of the analyzation. Well, we use, and I don't want to say because he is evolution zombie, easy Attenborough, evolution zombie Attenborough, but he, the beauty of nature, to understand how it works. I mean, he'll go right back and say, oh yeah, the function of this, it took millions of years. And it's like, wait a second, where are you getting that from? Why are you pushing this millions of years? And I'm not saying millions of years don't exist. I'm just saying, yeah, it can. Tell me how you dated it. So it could be millions of years, not this artifact itself, but time itself, Earth, the planet. We don't know when it was created. We don't know how it was created. That's the first step. Now, the battle right there for your mind is the other people saying, whoever they are, they're saying, no, we know how it happened. And they're not even open to the idea of, well, maybe they don't know. Maybe they're like, no, they know for sure. to know, right? Imagine if you're looking on the outside, like say an alien or say a spirit, and you say, okay, so these people, these humans are fighting each other, or maybe something are controlling us to fight each other over who they think created everything. And that just doesn't, instead of talking with each other about it. So now that's the ultimate keeping humans in a state of immaturity, to say, okay, make sure these humans never talk about this. If they do talk, make sure it's a staged political fake show. And that's what we see with all of the politics. We see that it is a political show that people put on, and they say, oh, look, this person said this. Mr. X, what's up, bro?
Good, good. Can you hear me pretty good now?
Yeah, yeah, very good, very good.
Yeah, it's a new another earpiece, so just
Yeah,
testing it out. Just testing
no,
it out. I see you're rocking here. I don't want to interrupt you. You're
no,
rocking.
this is a good one. It's coming in real clear, real good. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely yeah. This is so what do you think on, like, when you look at the control of the mental, to say, oh no, we have everything sorted out for somebody to believe in how we got here and where we're going. And of course we sit here, some people, this is the scary thing too, that some people, when you think, well, wait a minute, maybe we're here to do much more than what we're doing right now. Because
Hmm.
people that, you get into a form of employment and you say it has to be better than this. It has to be.
Oh, I
And
agree.
then, yeah, it's crazy, right? It just, I mean, and now there's a lot of stuff where people with the internet are able to talk to other people. And this is where I was also mentioning earlier about the scientific thing, to create a
Hmm.
space where somebody who wants to really look for a scientific answer and not disrespect, like, because basically the evolution thing is a belief, and to say, okay, that's their belief, but it is so deceitful. It makes you think that it's on the side, like, say we're looking at it in our mind, we say, okay, evolution is the side that is science, that's saying that no, we were created this way. And then religion is saying on the other side this. But religion isn't on the other side. Evolution is on the same side as religion, because it's a
Agreed.
religion. But
Agreed.
it's so like high level of deception. It makes you think that it's on the other side, to say it's opposing religion, but it's not a religion. I mean, that's some ingenious level stuff right there. And the next level is to see how it affects the zombies, to see how, like, the Professor Dave, the Taco Channel, all of this other stuff, these fake uh so-called scholars, in my opinion, they just I mean, it's sad, because they'll basically say, oh, look, this is how this evolved into this. And it's not a scientific method, it's an adaptation.
Right.
It's saying, oh, this was an adaptation within a species, but you're telling me that this is how something evolved, and that the jump from one creature to another creature that has never been shown, but even worse than never have been showing it, the fact that they falsified stuff, like with the Piltdown Man and other stuff like that, it just says a lot in between the lines. Yeah. I don't know if you
Sure.
have.
I
Yeah.
mean, well, okay, I'm 100% pro science, meaning that what we can go do in a lab, what we can test, and what can be repeated. I'm 100% behind you. You got my vote. I'm all on board with that. Just like when they found the appendix wasn't vestigial, it hold antibodies. That's science. They proved it. They did the test, they did the lab results, they did the research,
Mhm.
and it's testable and it's repeatable. And I'm all in favor of that. But that being said, I don't believe that all of our reality and all of what is true can be proven scientifically. It's just
Mhm.
there's a limit to it. It's a
Yeah.
great branch of knowledge,
No, you're right.
100%,
You're
but it's
right.
not going to prove our origins. There's no way we can go back to whatever created us and prove it in a lab. It's not going to happen. So all we have left is evidence. And
Yeah.
if we can look at the evidence without prejudice, meaning our biases, our wants, you got to leave that out of the equation and just accept whatever the evidence leads to, then that is the answer. that you're looking for. But you got to leave out what you want to be true. That's the most important thing. If you really want truth, you'll leave your bias, your prejudice out of the equation. You'll just go where the evidence leads. And I think it leads to order and design based on my non-biased opinion. That's what I see every day in my life. And the more and more I accept it, the more and more I see it. It's not like, oh, it's being proven false here and there. No, it's actually more reinforced the deeper I go and the more I learn. And especially listening to your channel, MD, when you bring up certain species and the insects and how the capabilities they have and how they're formed and created, it's like that just shows me more and more design. It doesn't show me chaos or anything like that. That shows me more order and design in this universe and in this planet that we live in. So I go with the evidence leads. And I think if you want the truth, that's the question. Do you want the truth or do you just want to push your own agenda? That's what it comes down to, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, it the whole observation of life and being able to easily pick out so many things, so many just openly seen things. They say, wait a minute, there's look right here, this animal here. Somebody had said earlier in the chat about the immortal jellyfish. I think it was Timbo.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you think about that, like, wow. You have the octopus that they're saying now can rearrange its genes even. I have to look up that study. Yeah, I have to look up that study. But because I did see the thing. I hope I saved it. I got to look to check.
And that's great science. That's great. I'm all for that because they can test it and they can repeat it and they can, you know what I mean? That's great science. I support that. But I don't support pseudoscience, what I call pseudoscience, that says millions of years can do this. That's not science. That's a religion right there. When you say millions of years, this can happen. You know, I could say millions of years, a junkyard could become a Mercedes-Benz dealership. You know, that's basically, and that'd be a lot easier to do than forming a human. But you know, it sounds ridiculous when I say that, but it's as ridiculous as saying that humans can form by this chance in millions of years. You know,
Exactly. It's like and the thing is they'll immediately attack people as if they're religious. I've
Yes.
noticed that. Yeah, like right away. They're like, "Oh, you must be Christian or religious," and it's like, no, it's like the science. I want to know the science of how you're telling me this just happened.
And if
And
the
they're like,
science
"Oh,
doesn't go for their narrative, they reject it. Science that's been
yeah,
proven and tested in a lab, they reject it if it doesn't support their narrative
yeah,
of evolution.
yep,
So are they really scientific at that point? Are they really pro-science? I don't think they are.
no, yeah, I don't think they are either. They to make it worse, it's noticing how they push it,
Hmm.
how they push it with one. It puts it in a very like obnoxious way,
Yes.
arrogant, and then also in a way that psychologically makes other people think that it's a scientific when it's totally not scientific. That's the crazy thing about it. When you study the science, like you said, it just keeps pointing more and more to where there's no way this could have happened by chance.
Right.
And this, I don't know if it's like a cognitive dissonance or some type of mental block to not see. I think it's the fourth law of stupidity, where we underestimate the damage that ignoring stuff can do.
Hmm.
Ignoring what somebody else can mess up, which would, what they would call in the basic laws of human stupidity by Cipolla. He was saying that it's we underestimate the damage, and that is extremely dangerous because that's the person dropping the grenade.
Yes. Yes. And the other thing too, like when you go, if you ever go on these religious shows to when you finish your book and so forth like that, like I'm totally against these guys who say, why don't you just, convert to Christianity? Why don't you put your faith in, in this or that or whatever religion they're promoting? because as somebody who is spiritual, and I'm not going to say religious necessarily, but I believe in the creator and so forth. That's not the way it works. Like, that's one thing about these religious people, because I'll call them out too.
Mhm.
What they're preaching about, you choosing, you should change your ways and start following this religion, that's wrong. That is not the way it works with the creator. It doesn't work like that. That's completely false. That tells me they don't know who he is. Right off the bat, I know a fraud when they start talking like that, because guess what? If you're meant to be with the creator, you're going to be with the creator. If you're not, you're not. But it's not based on your philosophical beliefs. Those are irrelevant to the whole discussion. They'll have nothing to do with anything. You know? So I know the people when they talk like that, they don't know, the religious people. They don't know what they're talking about. So I'm just saying that because I know hypocrisy when I see it. Because usually when there's hypocrisy like that, there's gonna be other things to follow. Is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? They're gonna claim to be so righteous and so good, but you're gonna find once you dig deep, they're not that good. They're just like everybody else. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, true. I see people that are afraid of the truth.
Hmm.
It just it just they're very like, it's like the more they profess their religion and how much they know, I
Hmm.
see they're afraid, because existence is kind of scary in a way. To be like, what am
Sure.
I here for? How did I get here? Where am I going? And you're right. It's like, to figure out those questions, you're not going to figure out all of them. You might get close genetically, but the conscious part, I don't think is going to be figured out.
Well, see, here's the thing. How I come to my conclusions isn't based on me using my brain. I don't pretend, I don't believe there's any logical, rational way you're going to figure this out.
Mhm.
It has to be given to you in one form or the other. The truth has to be given to you when it involves the supernatural. It's just there's limits to what you're going to find. I'm more than happy to share my truth of what I think has been given to me. Very important, given to me. I didn't use my brain. I didn't figure out anything. You know, um, but we're here as a temporary. We were called to come here for a temporary existence and step back a little bit and take a look at it. I mean, we know it's a temporary existence. We're not going to live forever. We were born. We're gonna die. I mean, that's how it works here. And it's a temporary stop. That's what it is. This physical realm. And in a certain sense, it's just you can't know what's good or what's the best without knowing what's the worst. You can't know what pleasure is without knowing what suffering is. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
If you never experience suffering, then you won't know what pleasure is. So that's what I view this world as. It's a temporary stop, and it's here to mold us and change us. But it's only temporary.
Yeah, yeah. That's a very, very realistic way of looking at it. That's about as real as I've heard it. Yeah, that
Hmm.
because if we were to teach children like that, to say, hey, you know what, in the nicest way we can tell them, I think their behavior growing up would be so nice, would be so much
Sure.
better, to say, appreciate everything around you, because everything around you is finite. Everything around you will change. And people that things will change.
Hmm.
And as they grow, like when they're younger, this is where the adult has to be smart enough to teach, where the time is going to affect people when they're younger different. And we know this. And this is something that, if adults forget this, or they allow pseudoscientists to make them believe that no, time is just constant the same way, but you can't separate time from perception of time, because that's a big thing to say, because now that questions the linear forward motion and how much can be fit into a certain section of time, kind of like information on a computer or some type of file. How much information can be fit into a 10 megabyte file, as opposed to how much experience in time can be fit into a 1 minute or 1 second experience. So say 1 minute, 60 seconds. We've seen that certain substances will clearly alter um, a person's feeling of
Sure.
time, of perception.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we see
Absolutely.
this absolutely. This is a fact. So the fact that so that's a fact. And the fact that they don't even acknowledge this as far as, hey, this right here, this simple experiment that can be done by anybody shows us that time can be compressed and it can be expanded.
Hmm.
Expanded in the form of when we're bored or something like that. And we know that being bored is resisting existence. It's resisting the fact that you're existing to be bored. Because regardless if you're bored or not, the time is still ticking. The time
Great
is
point.
ticking. Yeah, it just, and that martial arts teacher that had told me that, he said, yeah, he goes, being bored is just resisting existence. And he's like, when you walk outside, try to feel the earth under your feet. Not to say walk bare feet, but try to feel it. Try to feel it through whatever. And it's crazy because when you look at it, you start to say, yeah, this time can be manipulated. The
Yeah.
fact that we see the substances, so now we start to say, wait a second. So now that's another thing that's showing me that this environment is not as set in rules as I think it is. Or really, it's not that it's not set in rules because that's the way they train us to think. It's really just more expansive than we believe it to be.
Well, that's what they say time is. It's that fourth dimension. It's that other, we had the first being the length, and then the second being the length and the width, and then the third being the length, width, and height. And the fourth, they claim, is time. It's another measurement. So could time, based on, like, say, if you're bored, or say you're consuming some type of substance, could that measurement of time change? Or is that possible? And that's why we think time is moving slower at certain points. I don't know. I'm speculating here, but because it is, like the height of, say, a cube, or
Mhm.
the length and the width, that can be a different size. One cube could be taller than the other, but could time also be a factor in that? Meaning the way we perceive things, it could be slower or faster based on certain elements in our life. Could it affect that measurement also, the measurement of time? And that's why we feel like if we're under a substance, that time is moving much slower. I don't know. It's the best way I can put it, but
Yeah. Yeah. If we look at it like, let's just say, okay, we say, and you're right, we don't really know. We don't know. The most we can do is speculate and say, okay, what do we know? All right. What do we know about something like, okay, the physical, like the cube, that's in the physical realm. And now the time is, it really makes you wonder what realm is that in. It's we're moving forward, and
mhm.
we know the good thing is we do have. See, I think it's that we get put into the sense of thought of being ashamed of accepting the evidence that these substances, or not even a substance, just a state of mind, where, like, if you're walking on the beach and you turn around and you see that you've walked much further of a distance than you thought you walked.
Right.
So how did you forget that? Where were you? So you were, like they say sometimes, in one, like in Zen, in flowing with the moment. But it showed that time can be extended in a way because it didn't exist at that point. You were in the flow. Maybe it's at a point where you're flowing with time in the exact current of the river, so you don't feel it. So there's points where we might be able to catch up to, or there's a state of mind that we can put ourselves into, that we flow, we catch the current as it flows through the current of time. We can catch another wave of it and surf through it.
Mm,
So if time is in that way, that could also enable us to lead to different areas in the timeline, to say, okay, maybe it works in that way. Maybe it works in a way where, and we see that on some days where we catch all the red lights, we catch all the green lights. We see that certain things happen. We say, okay, on certain days where I see that it's red, I'll sometimes slow down and then try to catch the green, to say, okay, if I slow down, I'm traveling at a time where it just seems like it seems like every light I come up to, it's red. It's something is going on, you know. And then some days everything's green. And then if I slow down, or if I can miss the wave if I slow down with the wave of green. So if I don't take the wave and surf it, then eventually it'll slow down and you'll catch a red light or something like that. So, when you look at the way, just thinking of it in this metaphysical way, the crazy thing is how we're kind of shamed without being openly shamed, because people would try to make videos saying, oh, look, they're doing something that's totally unscientific, where it's like, no, this is where the frontier of science is a
Yes.
conversation. Yeah, it's like
Yes.
it lets us move forward. Yeah.
And we know it's relative throughout the universe. We do know that. It can't be influenced by speed or gravity. So we do know that. That's hard science proven. Um, so yeah, I mean, there may be other ways to manipulate time besides speed and gravity that we don't know about. Yeah.
Thought, maybe thought might have something. I mean, thought, I think, is something that is like not really taken as serious as it should be taken.
Oh,
Thought,
I agree.
right? The power of thought, the traveling at the speed of thought. Thought is just, it's an amazing thing. And a thing, and saying, what is it then? How do we really, a thought? Wow, man. Yeah, you think about it being created, and then it's out in the universe. You let your thought go. Vocals allow us to communicate our thoughts.
Right.
And the if we can find a way to express what we want to say better, it allows it to be understood. And that's
Yes.
very important. Yeah, right.
And does our mind age? We know our physical body ages, our voice ages, all our physical aspects of us age. But does our real mind, our real consciousness ever age? Or you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, I wonder about that. Like, I think, honestly, I'm wondering why. All right, I'll look at the negative. Why wouldn't it age, right? If we look at it from that angle and say,
Hmm.
okay, we would say, okay, it's easy. This is like how we look at the outer universe versus the inner universe. It's easier to comprehend that, okay, it never ends going outward. Going inward, now you got to think. So, like with other scenarios, we start to say, okay, what about that? Yeah, it is a very good question. What do you think?
Right. Well, I think our mind is part of our consciousness that just continues on long before when this body dies off and it just disintegrates into dust. Our mind will still be in existence in some other plane for sure, because I don't believe it's physical. It's not part of our brain. It's a non-physical
Mm-hmm.
part of our existence, but
Yeah,
it's what we use every day. What
yeah.
we experience.
And I would think that it probably can, maybe not age, but I would say collect information or
Hmm.
transform according. Now, Gaia says maybe gravity affects our thoughts. That's a deep one.
That's a good one. That's a very good one.
Yeah, the memories. Yeah, yeah. Thanks, man. Thanks. It definitely. Yeah, the mental state. You're right. Then the drugs, because you're right. You can do, like you were saying, like we were saying, walking on the beach and get into that sort of zen or whatever people call it. And now you're flowing, and you don't really. Yeah, it causes time to move slower or speed it up. Yep, exactly. You say sometimes you'll get into, like, I used to get into it with art. Fez, what's up, bro? Um, in the movie Mothman Prophecies, Ingrid Cole is a fourth dimensional being. And when he's talking to Richard Gere, he can see his past, present, and future at the same time. Wow.
Yes, that fourth dimension. So you can see that fourth dimension, that dimension of time. You can see it all at once. That makes sense.
I got to look at that. Have you ever seen this in the Mothman Prophecies?
I'd have to look at that because I've heard of Mothman, and I may have. Geez, it's been so long though, but I heard a lot about the Mothman. But I know in the movie Interstellar it was the same concept where he's moving around, and I think it's what they call the Tesseract, that thing, and he can move in different parts of time. You can see the measurement. They can go to one part in that Tesseract, and that's where he sees his daughter when she was a kid.
Mhm.
And then later on, he can move around, and he starts moving around to other areas, and he sees his daughter as an adult. But I think it's the same concept. It's just they can see the timeline all at once. Yeah, which makes sense. That's that fourth dimension.
Wow. Yeah, Guy says another. This is another person that is saying that they also see how time can be compressed or expanded due to a mixture of maybe what we ingest. Like Guy is saying that he's lived hours within mere minutes on LSD.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, I never did LSD, but I did marijuana, and
hmm Oh,
I
it
just felt
definitely
like,
affects time, right?
oh
Definitely.
yeah, I felt like an hours had gone by, and they told me no, it's only been a minute or two. You know? Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah,
Holy
definitely.
smokes, man.
That's why I don't like messing with drugs, to be honest with you. It just doesn't mix with me well.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely different drugs, different effects, alcohol,
Hmm.
cannabis, others, the LSD, like Guy is saying, yeah, live lifetimes. Yeah, I've heard salvia is kind of I was kind of scared of that. I didn't mess with that. And quantum theory, I mean, yeah, it's possible, bro. It's definitely possible. I mean, I definitely quantum theory saying that we don't die in that sense. Guys saying that's why I love the term transjective. It invites the transcendental nature of reality to the stale subject
Yeah.
versus the object debate. Yeah, that's a very good way. Yeah,
And
actually.
guess what? If it's true, it's a part of our reality. You know what I'm saying? It affects our
Mhm.
reality, our day-to-day life.
Yeah.
And that's why we're
Yes.
asking the questions. We're not going to be
Yeah.
closed-minded like the atheists and say, we know it all. We know everything.
Yeah.
We know what people thought 1,000 years ago, what was going through their heads. Well, I don't know that, but so, it's just, yeah. That's why we ask these questions, because if it's a part of our reality, irregardless of what we believe, it's affecting our lives. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. He's saying that that evolution, yeah, it's a red flag that points toward an unfinished epistemology.
Hmm.
So if we look at that and we say, hey, you know what? It's a branch of philosophy basically that
Sure.
focuses on belief, truth, justification, stuff like that. And we think about that. It's true. It's true. It's a red flag that points toward that. Definitely. I mean, and to know that we can alter time, or not we can alter time, but time can be altered
Hmm.
with certain substances, or even more accurately, like what Sage and Fez was saying, that it's more of a state of mind. It's actually more of a state of mind,
Would
because
agree.
the fact that we can get there with the state of mind shows us like, oh, okay, this goes a little further than it goes a little further than what we thought. I definitely got to check the Mothman. Wow, that part in it where he's able to see the past, present, and future at the same time. Kind
Mm,
of deep.
yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely kind of deep, man. I mean, when I think about all of the unexamined life, and that's the thing. It's like, why is something getting me, trying to make me, or maybe it's my own mind diverted. Maybe it's not able to steer the ship and focus to where to examine life, to say, what is life? What is it? What basically the apology, Plato, Socrates, without reflecting and stuff, and the purpose, the ethics, stuff like that, to achieve truly fulfilling. And I wonder too, because when people look at what they're saying, I think they'll look at what they're saying, but they'll just think about what the person said. But also, when you look and you say, well, maybe there's other things in there, the ethical conduct to achieve a truly fulfilling existence. So the ethical conduct. So saying to truly fulfill, to have a fulfilling existence,
Hmm.
you have to have a certain ethical conduct.
I'd agree
Because
with that. I would agree with
yeah,
that.
wow,
Like,
that
you know why? Because, can I give an example?
yeah, please.
It's like, okay, when they talk about sin in the Bible and so forth, let's take, for instance, lying. Well, they say don't lie. Okay, but then I approach things from a different point of view. Okay, don't lie, but then my next question is, what's in it for me? How do I gain from not lying? Because, there is gain from lying. You can lie to people and make a lot of financial gain. They do it all the time, So, but one way of showing the how it benefits you and to have a pleasurable ethical existence is, if you don't want to be surrounded by other liars, then it's up to you not to lie also. So basically, don't commit sins that you wouldn't want to have in other people, meaning you wouldn't want to be around a bunch of liars, or you wouldn't want to be around a bunch of murderers, or thieves. You know what I'm saying? If you don't want to be around those people, don't commit that sin, and you'll stay away from those people. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because if you're a liar, what are you going to attract? If you're a constant liar, like
Mhm.
a pathological liar, you're going to attract other liars in your life.
Mhm.
It's just naturally going to progress to that. You're going to see yourself around other people who lie also. And if you think that's okay life, that's fine. But if you think that would be a miserable life, being surrounded by liars and backstabbers, everybody you knew, then you don't want to follow that path. That's where it would serve you to be ethical.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
It has like an energy that attracts. Like
Yes.
if you lie, yeah.
Yes.
People don't realize that. Gaia says, I would love to discover the sober time hack. Imagine playing video games where you feel like you've been playing 8 hours in a mere 2 hours. No more wasted time. Oh man. But yeah, yeah, the whole thing about time, space, matter, the fact that you have this you say, okay, if I can manipulate one or the other, how do I manipulate it, and what does the manipulation, what does it do?
Hmm.
And we see with certain substances, it can slow down the effect of time, or it speed it up, basically. Also, I've noticed that um, it could also, from many testimonies, affect the feeling of gravity. So people will say
Mm.
that they feel like they're floating.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think you nailed it though when you said about how many experiences. I don't know if I'm quoting you correctly, but you said you hinted to experiences within a set amount of time. That
Hmm.
Yeah, and that's a good point right there, because if one could manipulate time, then they could fit more experiences within a certain amount of time. Like,
Exactly.
yeah,
You
yeah,
can actually live more.
yeah. You could have far more life experience. If you were to be at, like, say, on some type of hallucinogen or something like that, you might go through some long experience of life within a minute, and not even know it. But you would have all these different experiences and interactions with other entities or people and so forth, but in
Hmm.
a very short period of time, something that on the physical plane or when we're awake in a sober state that we wouldn't be able to do. It might take 10 years to experience something like this. So I could easily see that, happening. You could fit more experiences within a set amount of time. That makes the measurement of time different. I guess you could say that's how you could manipulate time.
Yeah, it's like kind of like Gaia. Gaia was saying here, I lived lifetimes.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yep.
Like that movie,
Yeah.
what was that movie, Inception? I think with Leonardo DiCaprio. That was one of the movies where
Mhm.
he's going through different dream states and experiencing different things, but
Yeah.
it could be within a minute he's experiencing all that, but it
Yeah.
seems like a lifetime, you know?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Totally. Totally. The fact that time can be compressed like that. It's like wow.
Hmm. Yeah.
You think about that time being able to perceive it differently, and that's where it comes into the perception of it, to say, okay, is it time being compressed, or is it the perception of time? So showing us, even either or shows us something very important, because
Hmm.
one shows us that time can be compressed. If that's not the the uh the reality, then it's showing us that our perception of time can be compressed. So then now it goes more into the mind, showing that the
Yes.
mind can control time in a way. And again, like how I was saying with the Greatest American Hero um, television show, where he had the suit, the Superman suit, but didn't understand how it worked. And then he realized, oh, you got to take 3 steps and then jump and you can fly. But he didn't know how to land, so he would always crash. So when we look at the human mind and body, there's things that when we combine them that we can do, that it's just the mind that bridges the gap. But there is some things where, yeah, you got to be in good shape to do certain acrobats, whatever. But the mind is like the key. The mind, when you look at how the mind can control things, it's saying, wait a second, so it can control time. So it can alter the perception of time, but we don't have the instruction manual like in the television show, The Greatest American Hero,
Hmm.
that he didn't have the instruction manual to the superhero suit. And now the suit had powers. It would block the bullets. It would do like a Superman suit thing. But the premise of it to say, okay, wow. So that means that we might have abilities. It seems really does when we see with these substances that we have abilities to do certain things that we don't think we can do. But
Absolutely.
little instances, yeah, are showing us that.
I mean, maybe we have the ability to meditate in a certain way that can put us in another state of mind and experience different things in the non-physical realm. But what would take 20 or 30 years, we could do in a minute or two in that, in a series of meditation in just in the mind, within the mind, we could have such a life experience in a quick amount of time. And then we could come back from that state just after a few minutes and be a totally different person. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. No, totally. It can. It's like you were saying. You can, it allows. Imagine you could live lifetimes,
Yeah,
lifetimes, like how Gaia was saying too. It's like,
exactly.
yeah, yeah. It's like much more of an experience if somebody lives in that state, or I think they might call it a Zen state.
Hmm.
It's like they would imagine the thickness, the richness of their life because they've actually lived it. Maybe that's what they say about living a full life,
Hmm.
that if you can stay in that moment of Zen, you're basically living forever in the moment and you live a full life as opposed to a distracted life. Wow.
And I think we experience a little bit of that, all of us, when we dream. When we have certain dreams, we experience that compression of life experience within a small amount of time. Because who knows how long our dream actually lasted? It may seem like a long time, but we may have had our dream may have only lasted a few seconds. But while we're in our sleep state, it feels like a long dream, you know?
Mhm.
Um, and I've had dreams where they weren't pleasant dreams. They're actually kind of miserable experiences. Not horrific or anything, but just not unpleasant experiences I'd rather not have. But when I woke up from the dream, I felt grateful that I had that dream because it's like a warning to avoid a certain situation so you don't have it in real life. So
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I think when I sleep, that's another form of meditation. And then we can compress so many experiences into a dream within a few seconds or maybe a minute. But we can learn a lot. But imagine if we could do that in a meditative state where we could go into that dream, but we could have more control when we do it. It wouldn't happen at random when we sleep. Sometimes we have a dream or sometimes we don't. But this way we could actually control it and have those experiences in a short period of time. So yeah, I think that'd be the best way to look at it.
Mhm.
Is through dreams that we've had, that we've experienced. Like, wow, what a dream I had! It was such a big dream I had, and that's what I'd say was a compression of time, or a long life experience within a short period of time, I guess you could say.
Yeah, dreams seem to compress time
Mhm.
in some aspects of it. It's like, I mean, what is it? It really makes you wonder about existence itself,
Sure, absolutely.
the truth with the dreams. It just I have a little bit of the intro to the Human Origins book, and I don't know if you heard it when I was playing it.
I missed it because I was work,
Yeah, I'm going to play it right now. It's only about a minute, but
Okay.
so you can hear it.
So the truth exhibits patience. It does not argue or force itself forward. Instead, it smiles in secret, patiently waiting for someone to notice. But for many, discovery is not liberation. It is a threat, an intrusion that bruises the ego of certainty. History makes one thing clear. The most dangerous ideas are not those that were wrong. They are the ones that were accidentally right. Evidence refusing to be neglected, persisting until those who ignored it paid at their own peril, are extreme cases forcing us to accept a view of reality that can easily cause our demise if we do not take them into account. The truth hides in what we are told to ignore. It quietly emerges when attention is elsewhere and defenses are lowered. It slips through the cracks and enters at the most inconvenient moment. Arriving unannounced, never asking for permission, it doesn't hesitate to care, nor is it required to apologize. In absence of an invitation, the truth's appearance has a habit of being disruptive in a silent way, unsettling the foundations we were taught to trust, sometimes even dismantling beliefs that took a lifetime to build.
Yeah, let it play around just so it play the whole thing.
No, I like it. I like it. I like the intro. I like where it's headed.
Thanks. Yeah, yeah. The biggest thing I see is basically just knowing when to leave the evolutionist to just believe what they want to believe. You know, it's always to do that anyway, because
Oh yeah.
sometimes,
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely. Well, like on Breakfast Taco, they have an agenda. So there's no convincing them. They're not there for truth. They're there for to promote an agenda.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, most of the time that's what you're going to find with a staunch evolutionist. That's what you're going to find. With the person who just said, "I went to school and that's what they taught me," a totally different story. That's a person who just really hasn't thought about it that much. They're not staunch evolutionists. They have no agenda. They just that's what they were told and that's what they figure is the truth, and they left it at that. Those are the people you could talk to and have deep conversation, conversation if they're interested. Those are definitely the people. But yeah, the evolutionists. I mean, the ones who really are staunch supporters and don't want to hear anything else, they have an agenda, and it's not the truth. That's for sure.
It's like that guy Bill or Brad that came on, and then he quickly turned into an agnostic, but was
Yeah,
still very much, kind of evolutionist. I
I
noticed.
think he would be able to turn somebody like that who just said, "Well, that's what they told me." That's somebody who could turn for sure.
Mhm,
But the
definitely.
thing is, you got to point out why it's relevant. Like, because in their minds, it's like, who cares? You know what I mean? But you got to show that why it's relevant is because of a multitude of reasons. Multitude. You've named plenty of reasons on this channel about the oppression of certain peoples and the how certain peoples were considered subpar and or below other groups of people, racial superiority, as well as we're not slime of also higher order, and there's more meaning and purpose to our lives. What?
Exactly.
No.
No, it's true. It's the fact that they broadcast it throughout the schools, the media.
Hmm.
It's unbelievable. It says right there. It's like, okay, they're trying to push it as a form of mental control and act like it's not. And that's the thing. That's the okay. Just keep pushing it and keep lying, and then people start to they'll start to repeat the caveman thing as if, okay, from the caveman, before the caveman was the ape. That's what they'll imply, not realizing that, hey, if people lived in the caveman thing, it must have came from a previous cataclysm, because people didn't just start out of nowhere from being
Hmm.
an animal and then turn into a man. Because that's their big, like when you look at the transition points, that tells a lot to say, okay, so you're telling me, okay, yeah, people can take refuge in caves. They can have communities. Or yes, that can be true. Now, before that, how did that come to be? How did they get to that? And it could have been, if we speculate, because either or we're speculating because it's prehistoric now. It's
Right.
there's nothing, yeah, really prehistoric because we're still talking about history, but we're talking about modern history. We're saying, okay, This is more saying, okay, what happened? Now, the one thing they don't want is saying there was a cataclysm, there was a previous civilization, even if it's not advanced. That's the scary thing. Because even if you say, well, it was a native, tribal civilization and a solar, a glacial thing, flood, whatever. They don't want to even hear that. They don't want to hear nothing scientific.
Yeah, that's right.
It's just like what the, and now to add in the fact that evidence is found, Randall Carlson, and some other people were showing how, if you look at the map, you look at certain features, it gives the telltale features of a flood that came through. That the Missoula floods, I think they're widely accepted now. So the Missoula floods is like one of his specialties, and he's like also sacred geometry and stuff like that. So it just it makes me wonder, like, just like with the Hovind thing, when they got good science and they go to, because I'm not saying sacred geometry don't exist, but it's hard for people to really comprehend. It's really shown that, okay, people are only going to absorb what they can chew and eat.
Right.
Like one guy had told me once after a lecture I gave, he goes, look, man, you can't feed a baby steak. And in that statement, he was telling me, like, look, the stuff you presented was so deep. It was so much that there's no way somebody can absorb that, because they need to take it in bites. You can't feed a baby steak. You're not even chopping it up. You're mincing at that point. You're blending it to where it's so fine. You got to say, okay, this is how I have to get through to people to even get them, like not the people that listen to the show, but people in society, to even get to talk about a situation that has any type of conscious meaning to it.
Which I can agree with. I think for the mass audience, I think in bits and pieces, it would make sense to digest.
Yeah.
Once one concept is understood, you can move on to the next.
Yeah.
But you got to start with concept A before you move on to concept B. Otherwise, B's not going to make any sense.
Yeah. Fev says, have you seen the video, Does the Past Still Exist?
I haven't seen that.
I think there was I don't know if it's the one you're talking about, but Dr. Richard Feynman maybe talked about the past and that it's still there or something like that. Yeah, I think so, with Feynman. Yeah, Richard Feynman. He was like a physicist. He was kind of open-minded, because he would say science is the belief in the experts trying to mock the fact that that's what they were trying to turn it into, Say, okay, just believe the experts. There are people that saw something was happening. They realized the invasion of the body snatchers type thing. And you think about when that happened not too long after. In 53, I think, was Invasion of the Body Snatchers the first movie with McCarthy. And then the second one was, I think, the 70s with Donald Sutherland. That, they say, is the best one. That one is kind of deep.
That one I saw. I did see that one.
The what?
On YouTube. The Donald Sutherland one, the 70s one.
Yeah, that one is pretty good. I don't know if you ever saw it.
Yeah, I saw it on YouTube years ago.
Yeah, and then there's one from 1994 called I think it's called The Body Snatchers, and that one was pretty good too. That one was with some not unknown stars. They're those stars that but you don't remember their name, so like that. And it was still followed the premise. It was pretty good, and it ended with that real horror note of, what are you going to do? Where are you going to hide? It's like, the body snatchers are there. The next one, because they remade it 3 times. The original was 53. Sutherland was the 70s. 94, they remade it, called it The Body Snatchers instead of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And then in 2007, they remade it with Nicole Kidman, and they called it The Snatchers, I think.
Snatchers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it ended with them getting a jab.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they switched it from the horror ending of, oh my goodness, they're still here, to, oh no, we got a cure.
Coincidence? I don't think so.
And you know, it was a jab in
Yeah.
in the 2007 one.
Mm-hmm.
And they had her, I think it was the blonde guy that was playing James Bond. I think he was the most recent one, Tomato Face.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't remember his name, but
yeah, we used to call him Tomato Face. Yeah, I forgot his name. Yeah. Craig, Daniel Craig, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Tomato Face, yeah.
I just stopped watching Bond. I mean, I was a Roger Moore guy growing up in the 70s. I was into it when I was a kid, but then I kind of lost touch with it, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
I used to like it a lot, but I just can't watch it anymore. I can watch a clip here and there,
Mm-hmm.
but anything more than that, like to sit down and watch the movie, I don't really see myself doing that unless maybe I'm doing a movie review or something.
Mm-hmm.
I can see doing it more with analyzation, like maybe a movie like Gattaca or something. But also, if I were to analyze the Bond movie in a way that shows, okay, these points reinforce the belief in government, because I know that there must be some type of stuff like that in there.
Right.
Like quotes when he says, you know, for king and country or queen and country, stuff
Queen
like
and
that.
Country, yeah, that's what they always say. Mm-hmm.
So it's like, you think about that and it's like, okay, the brainwashing is there. And I like James Bond. I mean, I'll still like him probably, but when I say I like him, what am I saying? What am I really saying?
Right.
It's kind of like Locke and Rose saying, when a man says he loves his country, what is he really saying?
Mm-hmm.
Especially when we know about corruption and stuff like that. You know, you start to question, like, And remember I don't know if you've seen the video of 1984, George Orwell.
Way back when.
The movie?
Long time ago.
Yeah, that one. The last words on YouTube, it probably has a clip. The last words of that movie, he's sitting in the room with a tear coming down his eye, and he says, "I love you," referring to the government. It's deep, bro.
Mm.
Showing how, in a way, where I see like, wow, they really have us to where, like Aldous Huxley said, it's a form where we worship the concentration camp. We love it.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, with drug foods and just certain now electronic comforts, it is a type of a matrix. It's really, to be honest, Yeah.
That's true. But it's can't really escape it, but you don't want to be a slave to it either. You want to know these question things, that way you don't fall into any traps. Because I know there's people who just follow the system, they usually end up as failures too, just follow what they're told,
Mm-hmm. You know what else I've noticed? That I've noticed there was times when I was at work and you get involved in a job and the time goes quicker as well. Like you'll be focused on doing something, you get it done, and then realize either that time, usually it's not like you got it done quick. Usually it's like if you get into it and you're taking a while, you're doing it and taking your time, that you don't realize so much time has passed. Kind of like when people play too. when we were kids, you realize more time has passed than you thought
Sure.
when you're having fun.
But I can show the opposite too, because when I was younger, I did some telemarketing jobs. And oh man, I hated that job, and time dragged. It just dragged. It was like worse than school. It's like oh, when are we gonna get our break? I was looking at the clock. Oh, almost time for a break. Almost. Oh, I gotta wait another 10 minutes. Time slowed so fast. When you're doing a job you hate, time slows. It's like the opposite, you know.
Yeah. So it might be based on also a type of perspective of the feeling. So now we bring a feeling into it, where a feeling can actually change the perception of time.
Yes, I agree. Yes.
And all of this we can know, like we just figured out, can be done just by talking and thinking.
Hmm.
No college degree in PhD or psychology required. Just honest thinking and using the ability to learn, to say, okay, build upon what we're thinking about, learn from it, use logic and reason, and say, okay, this is the conclusion.
And evidence too. And evidence.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, the evidence, yeah. But yeah, it's been a good stream. It's like 2 a.m. over here. Oh, I think you got the same time too, right?
Yeah, I'm on the East Coast here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like to thank everybody in the chat. Mr. X, definitely thank you, bro, for being on here. And
Well, thank you for having the streams.
Yeah, always, brother. Tonight, Saturday night, we'll be live.
Sounds good.
Take care. Have a good night.
Have a good night.